Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of 365 Days of Gaming. Really appreciate you taking time to check out this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Greatly appreciate it, so thank you in advance. Back to another tactical RPG. This is probably one of my favorite games for the Gameboy Advance. This is Tactics Ogre, Knights of the Lotus. Now, I'm not the biggest high fantasy medieval fan, right? But I do feel like with a tactical RPG, they are like made for each other because you get all these different kingdoms and realms and everything vying against each other. As you can tell, I'm a Game of Thrones fan. And this just, this gives you like an avenue to tell those stories in a way that allows you to also give shine to like all the other people. Cause I feel like, usually you only talk about the people in power, but like seeing some of the people in the battlefield and how they are affecting these political goings-ons, is a really cool thing. And this game is essentially that. When I first played it, it reminded me so much of Final Fantasy Tactics. And then learning what I learned about Final Fantasy Tactics as far as it starting off as a Tactics Ogre game, it makes a lot of sense because it has that same, level of intrigue and really cool characters that show up. You start off as Alphonse and, you are a young ward and you're trying to prove yourself and, you start to kind of get wrapped up into a lot of different people's causes and you have to figure out, which ones you want to support and the way you want to proceed. So there is a level of choices that you make. Now this is still an Atlas title, so, it's going to end the way you think it's going to end. But I really felt like, again, these are games that on the Game Boy Advance, everything seemed to take the most advantage of. And, really gives a really, clean and like, this is a handheld game. Like if you're not understanding why I'm so excited about this. Now this was a SNES game. And that was another thing that the Game Boy Advance did really well is they put a lot of the SNES games that we never got in the States on there. And, you know me, SNES is the greatest system ever. So having a chance to play portable versions of these games that I really wanted to play, just, makes it an even better system for me. Like I said, peak handheld gaming. Not to say that we're going to stop with the handhelds because there will be some more. I just hadn't got to them just yet. But the other thing I liked about this game is obviously with any good tactical game is the ability to change classes. And it has a really good class system. So a lot of games of this kind, usually you get to a level and that gives you access to new classes, which is a cool system. And, I don't mind it at all. This game did something a little different. They have certain requirements in battle that you have to complete in order to get certain badges, and that allows you to unlock certain classes. So, for example, you might have to kill, in order to become, a ninja, you might have to kill so many people from behind. This game, just like most of the other tactical RPGs of its kind, focuses on, as far as attacks, from which sides. Like, basically, if you attack somebody from the front, it's probably not going to work unless it's magic. And even then, they might just dodge it. So you want to do things from the flank or if possible from behind. You got to get a drop on people. So, you get these different badges and it allows you to get certain characters. So when I was playing through it, especially the first time, I would want to turn a certain character into a class and I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but obviously I wasn't paying enough attention. Once you figure out what the requirements are, it's pretty easy to make happen. The other thing they do in this game is the element thing, very similar to Final Fantasy Tactics. But this controls what type of spells they can learn. So a 5-person can only learn a 5-person spell. Someone that's aligned with air can only learn air stuff. Now there are certain exceptions when you start to be like mages and whatnot, but like for just like people's base character themselves, this is kind of how they start off with their attacks. And when you make a character, you can choose what element, so that you can still make your own type of character you want. So I definitely had a Doc Samurai, and he was doing his thing out here. I got to be in the game if I'm not going to be in the game. For some reason with tactical RPGs, I don't change the name. I really don't change it anymore, but as a kid, most of like the old RPGs, like Legend of Mana and things like that, I was definitely, all of those people were Darius. But yeah, it is definitely not an easy game either. It's probably the hardest tactical RPG, and I do say that in quotation marks because although it probably won't get an episode, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance is probably the hardest tactical RPG I've ever played, and not because it's actually hard, but because they had rules restricting you in battle to make the game harder. But that's me just ranting. Anyway, I am very excited because Tactics Reborn is getting the game. This is not the same game, but it's still the same game if you get what I mean. So I'm very excited to play that. And if you know about this series, let me know your thoughts on it. If you haven't played this and you are a tactical RPG fan, I'm telling you it is definitely worth whatever reasonable price you're willing to pay to play it. And that includes, the wink and the nod. Either way, I appreciate you letting me reminisce with you. Y'all have fun. Y'all be safe. Peace.